Welcome to the Beyond the Mat podcast, an in-depth talk show discussing exclusively WWE topics.
My name's Rick Boogs, and I came to rock with the Beyond the Mats podcast that is beyond the M-A-T-T podcast. Ah!
All right, welcome to Beyond the Mat. It is June 10th, 2022. It's Friday night Smackdown edition. I'm here with Kyle tonight. We're going to review WWE Smackdown from tonight, as well as some other stuff from the week, because it's been a while since we've had you here to listen to us. Had a busy week, but we enjoy you being here with us. Remember that we're on all podcast platforms as well as Patreon. You can join Patreon for as little as $1 to enjoy our content ad-free. And we are also on Twitter at BeyondMatWWE, and we take questions at matt@beyondthemat.com. How you doing, Kyle?
Doing great. How you doing?
Hanging in there. Been a busy week, like I said.
Yeah.
But we managed to get one together here, so that's all that matters.
That's right.
Hopefully the listeners appreciate that. What'd you think of the episode tonight, man?
I actually enjoyed it. I thought the matches were pretty decent. There's some short matches, but hey, that's okay. The other ones made up for it for being longer. And yeah, there's a lot of good storyline stuff going on too. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I thought it was a good episode. It was paced right. I felt like the matches all were meaningful. There wasn't any meaningless matches, and the matches were well worked. There's a lot of video recaps, but I think we've come to expect that out of SmackDown at this point. You know, they're going to remind us about Judgment Day turning on itself, I guess, or on its leader about 3 or 4 times throughout the episode. And that's fine, because it reminds me that we should talk about it tonight. Yeah. But, and you know, we saw Madcap Moss and Corbin again. But I'll tell you what, when the one thing I noticed about tonight's episode that I felt stood out is that there was little to no comedy segments whatsoever.
Yeah.
So there was no New Day. There was no happy talk time, which obviously he got, sent out in the stretcher last week. But, it just felt a little bit more serious. Like, Cole kept saying it over and over again. And I think McAfee did too, that it was a big fight night. It just felt like the fights actually really mattered tonight. And to some extent they did. I think all of them had some sort of stakes involved to them, whether it be a Money in the Bank qualifier, Intercontinental title match, or a match to ban Riddle from SmackDown in the main event. They all had some sort of meaning. So I felt like it was a pretty good deal. I felt they opened the show well. They opened with McIntyre and Sheamus in the Money in the Bank qualifier. Match ended in a double DQ because they both went after each other with a chair. But, even though they're presenting McIntyre as somebody who's eventually going to face Reigns at the Clash at the Castle pay-per-view, I do find it a little bit strange that they're matching him up with Sheamus so evenly matched in this match. I felt like the story was very much like they both had each other's number. We saw them both use each other's moves. Drew went off the top rope, or the second rope on Sheamus. Then we saw the DDT by Sheamus. Then we saw the 10 beats of the Baldrin by McIntyre on Sheamus. Eventually they end up outside of the ring. Now, McIntyre claymores Butch when Butch gets in the ring. In some matches that would be a DQ. In some matches it wouldn't. But then the match ends in a DQ anyway. I saw a count out coming, but it didn't. At the end of the day, double DQ who the hell knows if either of them qualify for the Money in the Bank? And quite frankly, I don't know if either of them need to be in the Money in the Bank. But what did you think about the way this match was worked and the result of it? And where do you think they're going to go?
It's actually what I kept thinking about before the match began and as the match was starting and during the match. I'm like, the whole time I'm trying to determine, well, are they going to have, the obvious winner being Drew here? They're going to have him go over, or are they going to have some kind of shady win, like a count out where he wins, but it's because Sheamus is getting counted out. So then Sheamus tries to fight his way back into the contention for Money in the Bank as well. I just couldn't figure out exactly how they're going to do it, because it seems so obvious that Drew would win here if either of them were going to win. The double count out, actually, I kind of like, because both of these guys, I don't think they're really Money in the Bank type contenders. They're usually people that are already in a feud with a serious person. So it would be right now, neither of them really have those big feuds going on. So that's why I think one of them should have won this. But I guess I'm totally fine with them not winning it, and they can go back and forth for a little bit until Roman frees himself up. Roman's got to go through a couple people, I think, before he gets to Drew. I think they're holding off just a little bit. And obviously they're going to go through Riddle first. So we got to give Drew something to do. This is a really cool match too. And it's just a classic example of good workers doing their job in the ring. They both knew each other's moves. And so you saw them either use the opponent's move on them, or they saw it coming so they could counter it. Like you're talking about those, the 10 clubbing blows. Sheamus got about 4 or 5 in there, but Drew knew it was coming, so he reversed it and then gave it back to him. It was really cool stuff like that. Or like when Sheamus hit the white noise on Drew and then Drew hit the white noise back on Sheamus. I like that stuff, or like, when Sheamus uses the future shock DDT on Drew. It's just a good example of two good workers that know each other and fight really hard to win the match by knowing their opponent and beating their opponent before them.
I appreciate that you corrected the fact that I forgot the names of the moves there.
Oh, it's totally fine. I mean, I barely know them. The only reason I write them down is if I hear the announcer saying them. So that's I mean, I'm not. It's weird. Some people are really good at seeing every single move and know exactly what they are. But I've heard moves called 3 or 4 different names. So like a lot of the times I get confused, or I don't call it the right name, or that's what it used to be called 20 years ago, but now it's called something different. So
it's funny because I was the DDT. I'm sitting here. I wanted to say silencer so bad, and I knew it wasn't. And I know it's the future shock. I just, for some reason, I was having a brain fart and I couldn't remember anything.
Yeah.
And like, I was like, what? Okay, so the top rope move.
And how many DDTs are out there? Honestly, like,
right.
Even some wrestlers have multiple DDTs within their own repertoire. So yeah, it's a very common move, but it's got a lot of names because a lot of people use it. So yeah, I really enjoyed the match, and if they fight again, that's cool. I don't know what they're gonna do with getting back into the Money in the Bank, but we see later in the episode them both coming to Adam Pearce and saying, "You better put me in that match," and trying to force him into doing it. So I'm excited to see how they continue that storyline.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how they how they muscle their way into it, or if Pearce doesn't let him do it at all. Because going into it, I see Sheamus and McIntyre, and I'm thinking, okay, McIntyre's already called his shot to face Roman Reigns. He doesn't need to win a Money in the Bank match to cash in and do all that. And so I figured Sheamus was going to win this somehow, probably by interference by Butch, because he was there. And then that would protect McIntyre. McIntyre would move on. But then it ended in the double countout. So I'm like, or the double DQ, whatever the hell it was. Nobody won. So that's the point. And then
they brawled for another 10 minutes after that.
Yeah, they went through the commercial break and afterwards. And Yeah, I figured it was going to be Sheamus going into it because that would make more sense, but it ended up not being either of them. And honestly, I mean, I don't know who they're going to put in this Money in the Bank match, but I would imagine that if it's either of them, it would be I just don't see Drew McIntyre needing to be in the Money in the Bank match.
Exactly.
They need to have star power in it and need somebody to put other people over. But Sheamus can do that. So I don't know. I just think this was two pros in the ring that have known each other a long time, have similar fighting styles, but their fighting styles work very well together. And it was just a good match. And, finish or non-finish, it was well worked. And, the story goes on with, them fighting over whether they're going to be in the Money in the Bank match because it ended, with no ending. So we'll see.
They're the perfect two guys to put in this situation because you can think of a reason for either of them to win. You could also think of a reason for either of them to lose. So this is a cool way to do it. I enjoyed it.
And you can also think of a reason for either of them to not even be in the Money in the Bank match at all.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, neither of them need it. That's the thing. It's like you said, Drew doesn't need it. Sheamus doesn't need it either. Really. I mean, I don't think Sheamus is going to be in a championship contention anytime soon. So you don't put him in the Money in the Bank because he's not going to win. He's not in contention. Drew is in contention, but he's already at such a big level that he's beyond being a Money in the Bank winner. He's been there, done that. So that's what, like you said, we keep both saying the exact same thing. We could find reasons for either of them to win or either of them to lose or either of them to not even be in this match. And that's what makes it so cool. I love when you really can't figure it out. Sometimes you go into a match, you're like, oh, this person's definitely winning. I already know the conclusion. But this one, I had no idea.
Yeah, I even said before that match, I know what's going to happen. Butch is out there, Drew's going to do what he does, and then something stupid's going to happen, and Butch is going to interfere, and then Sheamus is going to win because Sheamus probably, could be in the Money in the Bank match and lose, and there's no reason for McIntyre to be in there, but they didn't do that. So I give them credit for that, for not being what I predicted, at least,
Yeah, and just a small note about Butch too. He did a great job of being a psycho on the side of the ring, just maintaining that character. It, like you said, it seemed like he was going to get involved. Yeah, he didn't, but he still had a chance to be out there during the whole match. He was on camera a lot and just being nuts, just being crazy and like giving Drew these evil looks like, oh man, I can't wait to get in there and just tear this guy apart. So I appreciate those little details and character work.
Yeah, he was definitely looked like he was at any moment going to do something. And he did enter the ring, and he ate a Claymore for his troubles.
Yeah.
And, like I say, that's a couple weeks ago. I think Kevin Owens got into the ring and got ejected just for getting in the ring. And, this week it doesn't even matter, but whatever. That's the way they do it.
That's just WWE being silly. I mean, like I said in our text during the match, they do this. They've been doing this stuff forever. Like you go back and watch during the Attitude Era. Once a ref turns around, all hell breaks loose. And even the ref would see certain things and be like, oh, that's fine. Yeah. Like somebody would pick up a chair and use the back end of a chair. And the ref's like, that's okay. I'll let it go this once. Like, come on.
Yeah. I'll tell you who did a good job as a ref tonight. Charles Robinson was in multiple matches, and he does a really good job of selling the situation. I'll get to it when we get to the match I'm talking about. I'll elaborate about it, but we'll move on here. Yeah. We had Lacey Evans in her first match, being presented as a babyface. A lot of people, reported that she was going to be a heel, then a babyface, and a heel, then on Raw as a babyface, and back on SmackDown as this, and then she came out as a babyface to, that very, I guess, emotional theme music she comes out to, in the fatigue looking pants with the mesh top. You know, she ended
military snare drum, marching her into the ring.
Exactly. And she's got that ends her little pre-match interview with the same line she ended all of her promos with.
I laugh every time I hear her say it. I'm sorry. Wake up, work, win. Like, okay, I just want to say real quick, what different is she doing than literally every single human being in the world? We all wake up and we all go to work. And then some of us win and some of us don't. But what are we doing different from her? Why is that her tagline? Wake up, work, and win. Can you imagine? Like, okay, you are a military member, okay? Is that really like a saying that they would use in the military to like pump up troops? Like, okay, guys, we're gonna wake up and then we're gonna work and then we're gonna win. It's lame. It's so lame to me. I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but it's like, come on, you can think of a better catchphrase than that. No, nobody
says that ever.
It's so lame.
But she also does the I may not be better than Zaya, but Zaya's sure not better than me.
Okay, so you're equals? Is that what you're saying?
So what's the point of that?
When you go into your equals, whatever. And like Xia Li gave a little promo today as well, and basically just said that Lacey Evans is not a winner and she was going to beat her. But I enjoyed that more than I did Lacey Evans promo.
Yeah, and they made sure it was nice and quick. Earlier today, here it is, picture in picture. I'm going to beat Lacey Evans and go to Money in Bank. It's basically that's what I made of it, and I'm not even.
Yep.
But that's all she needed to say. She didn't beat Lacey Evans. She ended up losing after taking the women's right hand from Lacey Evans, and that was enough for a pinfall win for Lacey Evans to qualify for the Money in the Bank match. Xia Li no longer undefeated. She's 1-1. Quick match here. I guess it was, nice to see Lacey Evans back in the ring, obviously, and, good that they're planning something with her as far as at least having her in the Money in the Bank ladder match at the pay-per-view. Do you have anything to add about how these two worked? I felt like it was super fast.
Yeah, it was a short match. They worked fast. Xia Li was throwing in a lot of strikes, just trying to cut Lacey Evans down. Lacey's definitely a much bigger competitor too. Just like her shoulders alone are huge. Like her and Raquel Rodriguez should stand side to side and have like a back shoulder off, and like try to impress each other with their back muscles. She's a very impressive human being. There was one nice move that she did in this match. It was like a handstand in the corner where she lifted up her feet. She did a little handstand and they did like a double drop kick into Xia Li. And that was a nice move. And she looked decent, she looked pretty good. Xia Li looked pretty good too. I don't think there was any like big messy spots or anything like that. But it was short, so we didn't get to see a lot. But what we did see was pretty good. Xia Li was actually in control in the beginning. And I thought maybe this would be a thing where they have Xia Li control for most of the match, but it's kind of just 50-50 between them both, back and forth.
Yeah, it was just good to see them use Xia Li in a match here. Hopefully she gets a couple more matches. She had basically the same entrance as she had when she was babyface before.
This time she had a stick, though.
Yeah, she had a stick this time.
She had a stick.
But yeah, did the lightning stuff, and the lightning wasn't as over the top as it was that first time she came out. But
I appreciate that. Like, I'm okay with a little bit of the graphic stuff that they do.
Yeah.
But don't make it like the entire entrance.
Right.
So that was better.
Yeah, it was a little more believable. Lacey Evans, the other day we had Bailey on social media saying she's going to come back soon with a tweet, and had a picture of her lacing up her boots, which felt like a tease that she's going to be coming back to face Lacey Evans.
Laced her boots, Lacey Evans. I see the connection.
Yeah. But then again, who knows? But, the reason I was thinking of that is because, we don't see Xia Li in the ring that much. It took a while to get Lacey Evans back in the ring. Obviously, it's taking a really long time for Bayley to get back in the ring. And Bayley got hurt in a performance center training session, not even in matches or in anything that was to be taped for television or anything like that. It was just Vince wanted everyone to practice, to get ready, to be sharp in front of fans before they went back in front of fans. And Bayley ended up getting hurt. And the reason I'm saying all that is because I think that's what they've been doing with people like Xia Li and Lacey Evans. They've been working a lot behind the scenes, before the shows, at the performance center, to really make sure that these people are cleaning the ring to avoid the injuries, because they really can't afford to sustain more injuries to the roster that's already thin due to somebody being rusty in the ring. So if that's the price you have to pay, if the price you have to pay is not seeing somebody for a while, I think that's okay if it means that they're not going to get hurt and lose time because of that. So, a lot of people, will say, where's Xia Li? We've only seen her in one match. And, where's Lacey Evans? We've seen all these promos. And I'm pretty sure that from things that I've heard, that they're just being very careful about getting people into the ring, making sure people are ready to get in the ring before they do so. So it seems like that's the case. Seems like Xia Li was ready for this one. Lacey Evans took the win. You got anything else to add on it?
No, just to add about what you were just saying about, the amount of work that people do. I just want to make sure that a lot of the fans, a lot of the people out there that are watching understand that although we only see little bits of these people, and I agree with everybody out there, I want to see more. Of course I want to see more. Xia Li, I've seen her in 2 matches. It's not enough. I agree with everybody out there. I want to see them more. But we always have to have the understanding that what we see on TV is not the only thing that these people are doing. These people are working every single day. These people are in the ring doing, local matches, non-televised matches. They're beating themselves up every single day. Heck, Cody Rhodes just showed us a perfect example. Somebody that got injured, that wasn't even in a match. He got injured working out. So these people put their bodies through hell for us, and we do only get a little bit of TV time. The little bit we get is always great because we want to see more of them, but we always have to understand that they are laying their life on their lines every single day, even though we don't see it on television.
Yeah, they, just as you mentioned, like I've seen Xia, Xia didn't even have her first televised match yet, and I saw her at a couple house shows before that, and I saw her at a couple since then, and yeah, it'd be nice to see her on Smackdown more, but they find time for it when they do, and everybody that thinks that they don't use anybody, they do. Like for example, Guenther, a lot of people would say he's only, and that's who we're going to talk about in a minute after we get done with Rousey. But Guenther, people say only squash matches. Well, when he was doing the squash match thing on TV, he was at the house shows working, 17-minute matches with Mansoor and with other cruiserweights like Ricochet, which I think was an outstanding matchup. I think those two are just a great matchup, and we'll get to that one in a minute. But yeah, the rest of the competitors, they do stuff on and off TV all the time. And so, it's not only to say they're not being used is sort of a fallacy, but, they are being used, just not in the way that we're able to see, which is disappointing. I agree with that. But at the same time, there's only so much storyline you can fit into a couple hours of television. Now, some people say 5 a week is too much, but whatever. It is what it is.
Yeah, and you can see they, even on Raw with 3 hours, they have certain things that don't make it. Or like on tonight on SmackDown, I don't know if you're going to mention it later, but we were promised a Max Dupree member, and he didn't show up because of traveling problems, which is obviously a made up lie because they didn't have time to put his segment on this episode.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just assuming. So, they try to stuff as much as they can in there. Now, I will say this. They could cut out a couple of the video packages and make more room for wrestling or for at least like backstage promos. But whatever, I'm nitpicking.
Well, yeah, we didn't need to see. I was surprised how many times they must really like that moment they had with the Judgment Day because they played that over and over again.
Yeah.
I guess
I played a lot of Raw stuff on this, a lot of Raw highlights on this.
Yeah, they played Cody's stuff a couple times, but whatever. I mean, usually you don't see as much Raw stuff. You see more of like last week on SmackDown or match flow this or whatever. But that's what we got. We had Ronda come out next. Came out to a nice babyface reaction, slapping hands on her way out. I felt like she had a little bit more command behind the mic, not much to say. So maybe that had something to do, not as many lines to memorize. You just go out there and execute them. But, she felt strong behind the microphone. I didn't find her to be boring and, putting me to sleep. And Ronda Rousy, I didn't. If I called her that as a result of seeing that tonight, that'd be like a biased opinion to have. I thought that she did she did what she needed to do. And so then you have Shotzi interrupt her. Shotzi comes out with her helmet on, being sort of the loudmouth character that she's been, having kind of an attitude. And she carried her promo pretty well all the way down to the ring, entered the ring, challenged Ronda to a matchup. And it sounded like she was challenging her to a title match, but it turned out to be a championships contender match. Match went about 10 minutes. Wasn't a bad match at all. Rousey had let Shotzi get in a lot of offense, hit a really nice looking tornado DDT to the outside. Finish came when Rousey rolled through to pick up Shotzi into the Piper's Pit position, then planted her with the Piper's Pit, and then locked in the armbar. And that was it. She preceded that with a whole bunch of judo throws when she took over. And, so Shotzi got in a lot of good offense here and looked strong. But at the end of the day, the champion reigned supreme. I felt like both of them did a good job in their promos. Felt like Ronda was more charismatic and more believable today. And I felt like it was nice to see Shotzi's personality and her whole presentation. And this is what I wanted to see Ronda Rousey as a champion. I wanted to see her on the TV defending against the younger women who haven't been featured much. You get them in there against the champion. We know they're probably not going to win, but they put on a good showing. They don't win the match, but that then, creates makes Ronda's reign a little bit stronger because she's defeating these women. It helps build them up a little bit. And then you have the veteran in waiting for the pay-per-view in Natalya to face, which eventually I believe is going to lead them to Baszler because of Natalya's connection with Baszler. But in the meantime, her going on TV every week and answering these challenges, I think is a great way to get her over with the fans and a great way to get the other ladies over. And I think that her promo ability has gotten better. So I do think that things are headed in the right direction with Ronda Rousey as the champion, at least as of right now. What do you think about everything that happened here?
Well, let me start back at the beginning. And I actually have to disagree with you about Ronda. I'm sorry, but I was still bored by her, to be honest. Like as soon as she started talking, I leaned into the television to see if I could hear her better. I was like, what are you saying, Ronda? Huh? Speak into the mic. Like, and then the way that she just gets into her promo, she doesn't take the time for the audience to actually hear the words that she's saying. Because like, there's some things that if the audience knows what you're going to say, then you can go through it quick. But if you're trying to explain something like your submissions are better than Natalia's, then you need to take your time explaining that. She just kind of like blasted through it. So I'm sorry, but I still wasn't sold on Ronda's delivery this week. I will say she had one good line. She said something like, so you want to fight for the title, shot ski? You're on ski. And I thought that was kind of funny. So I'll give her credit for that one good line.
I just felt like she had a little bit. I mean, maybe you didn't feel she had any energy. I just felt like she was a little bit more enthusiastic than when we saw her against Flair. You know, she kind of had a little bit more energy. Was it perfect? No, but the bar isn't that high. So I just think that it's getting a little bit better. And, you know, having Shotzi interrupt her after 3 lines is probably a good thing to do. Yeah. So
well, that's another reason why I kind of felt like that about Ronda, because like when she first started talking, I was like, okay, this is a little bit better than what you've been in the past. But then as soon as Shotzi came out and Shotzi started talking, I'm like, no, that's a badass woman. Listen to Shotzi and the way that she's saying stuff. That sounds like the baddest woman in the world right there. You know, I liked Shotzi's delivery so much more than Ronda's. And that's what made me say, you know what, Ronda, you still got a lot of work to do on your promos. I'm sorry, but this girl Shotzi right here is upstaging you when it comes to the promos. But when they got in the ring, Ronda was killer. She was great. Shotzi got a lot of offense in on her, and she was doing some good heel stuff. Like she put Ronda's mouth in the fish hooks in the beginning, you know, like this is a good heel thing to do. And she had a lot of nice early control. She had that DDT you were talking about on the outside of the ring. A lot of nice close pins too. So she showed out in this match. I loved what Shotzi did. It was great. And Ronda did a great job of selling her stuff too. Like Ronda sold the crap out of Shotzi's offense. That was awesome. Great job for Ronda during this match. And then her delivering that Piper's Pit at the end there and then getting the arm bar submission. That totally makes sense. That just is like a nice period on the end of a sentence to finalize this story. And then after the match with having Natalya run out and attack Ronda and put her in the sharpshooter, that was really cool too. I like that. Mine as well. Just get that feud really boiling between them before they fight. It's going to be a really good match between Ronda and Natalya. So I'm glad that they built that up a little bit more at the end. And then one last thing. Sorry. I just want to say, Shotzi said something when she was talking in her promo. She said that she has serious aggression. And the way that she said serious aggression sounded a lot like ruthless aggression when John Cena said it. I liked that little touch. Both Shotzi, great acting on her part, and 2, great writing by putting that line in there.
Yeah, and I liked the attack by Natalya because part of Rousey's promo was all about, well, I have this armbar that my mother taught me, and you have a sharpshooter that you pilfered from Bret Hart and all this.
And you pilfered your gimmick from Piper. I'm sorry, I just had to say that.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. You go right back and forth. And listen, maybe you're right. Maybe Rousey's promo wasn't that good, but I thought that Shotzi played against it well. And at the whole package of her being there, saying what she said, Shotzi interrupting her, the match happening, I thought Rousey looked way cleaner in the ring than she has looked, really in a lot of other matches that we've seen. I'll tell you what, she barely looked like she could get Shotzi up for that Piper's Pit. It looked like she almost threw her back out trying to do that.
Yeah.
Because even when it was over, when she put her down and she locked in the arm bar and the match was over, she was selling the back. And maybe she's just selling the back, but she looked like she struggled to get her up and they almost botched it. But regardless, she didn't botch it. She hit that. And the attack by Natalya is perfect. It's perfect to have these matches where you have the champion out there fighting against somebody who's not getting nearly enough time, which is basically every woman on the roster. And then, you get them a nice match. They don't win. It doesn't mean they're being buried. It is the champion. And then you have an opportunity for the heel opponent at the pay-per-view to come out and make an attack rather than them just attacking them in the middle of a promo. So
yeah, exactly.
I think that the whole package here works for me for what they're trying to do. It gets Rousey, as that babyface fighting champion. It gets Shotzi some nice heel time and then gets Natalya the heat for the angle heading into the pay-per-view. So
I did find it funny that like when Natalya had Ronda and the sharpshooter in the middle of the ring, and then all the refs or officials or whatever, they ran into the ring, right? And they're all just standing around watching like, Natalya, stop. Just don't do that. And they didn't engage her at all. I just thought it was really funny that they just stood around and they were like, hey, don't do what you're doing right now. Like, why are you even there if you're not going to engage with her? You know what I mean? Like, nobody could even try to pull her off. I think it'd be even cooler if they had like two people grab Natalya's arms and try to pull her off. And Natalya's so strong that she's like, no, I can hold these people off and I can hold the sharpshooter. That kind of thing. I thought it was just kind of silly. They all just stood around saying no. Because, like, well, what are you doing there if you're not actually going to engage her?
Yeah, that was one of the things that I was going to allude to about Charles Robinson that I like that he does, is that when there's things happening that he knows that, psychologically a wrestling referee should be looking at or should be, warning the wrestlers about, he's really into, you can really buy the way that he's sounding. Like there was a part where Riddle had Zayn outside and he's like, Riddle, you better get him the hell back in here. Get his ass back in here now, and stuff like that. And he was really getting in Riddle's face and like cussing at him, telling him to get him back in the ring, stop hanging him on the ropes and hitting him from the outside and stuff like that. And like Charles Robinson does stuff like that all the time. And some of the other refs are way more flippant about the way that they're supposed to, call the counts in the corner or the counts on the ropes and things like that. And it makes it so much, the referee becomes part of the whole production. And when they're acting well along with it, it makes it that much better. In that case, all the refs standing around that just look like idiots, so. Yeah.
And they do this all the time. So I'm used to it at this point, but it's like, all I have to say is why send a million refs out there if the refs literally aren't going to do anything once they get there? That's all I'm saying. Like I hate to, use example like this, but you watch AEW and you have somebody like Wardlow, who's, the strong beast. They send 20 refs at him and he hits every single one of them. Like he didn't miss one, they all get hurt. Why can't they have Natalya like hit a ref or something? I don't know. Like during the Judgment Day promo on Monday Night Raw, when Finn Balor turned, Rhea Ripley had a chair in her hands and she was like fending off all the refs. At least those refs were trying to get in the ring and do something, even though Rhea Ripley had a freaking chair. So that made more sense. They were at least trying to get in the ring and stop them. This one, like Natalya is holding her in a sharpshooter in the middle of the ring. Why can't they just at least like grab Natalya or something? Do something, damn it. Don't just stand there and yell at her.
Or how about Jessica Carr? What about Jessica Carr or the some of the other female referees? Why can't they break it up?
Yeah, you think it's a male-female thing? Like the male refs just won't touch the female wrestlers? Because they had female ref out there too, I think.
Yeah, I don't know. And it's not like the sharpshooter is a maneuver where the person putting it on is in position to defend themselves. Just go tackle them.
Not exactly. Just grab their arms and pull them off.
Yeah. So we had the Intercontinental title coming up next. We had Guenther and Ricochet. I was saying going into this match, this could go a couple different ways. It could go with a quick roll-up win for Ricochet to, secure the IC belt and to sneak out of there with it against much overpowering Guenther. We could see Guenther squash Ricochet in 3 minutes, or we could see a 10-minute match where Ricochet puts up a heck of a fight, but Guenther does something athletic at the end, finishes it with his stack powerbomb. That is what ended up happening, and we have a new Intercontinental Champion in Guenther. Now, to me, this match was really well done, and potentially, I would like to see the two of these continue to feud over the Intercontinental Championship because, or if it's not, I don't care what they feud. I just would like to see them in the ring together because when you have a big guy like Guenther who, just completely clobbers people with his chops, and you have somebody who creates the movement like Ricochet does, there's really not anybody who does it quite like him. And you can have a monster countering those things. You can also have situations where, that movement creates, it can't be countered by the monster. It is all the more devastating when sold by a monster. It makes the cruiserweight look all the more strong. And then when you have the monster take a page out of the book of the cruiserweight and hit him with a missile drop kick and then into his finisher, that to me was a great part of the match. Like to me, that might have been the move of the night for me.
Great psychology in this match from beginning to end.
Yeah, you had Guenther, you had Ricochet using his speed to get away from Guenther. And when second Guenther caught him, he would smash him with one of those chops. You had Ricochet going for the ropes, hitting splashes. Then he's missing splashes because Gunther's getting out of the way. Guenther decides, finally, I'm going to have to steal a page out of his book to be able to get in what I need to do. That's what he did. It did look like Ricochet had a couple shots to win this match. There were some really close near falls in this match. But at the end of the day, Guenther hits a missile drop kick, nails Ricochet into the corner. Ricochet stumbles out right into the stack powerbomb. For the 1, 2, 3, Ricochet becomes a new Intercontinental Champion. Ludwig comes into the ring to celebrate with Guenther and is wiping his lip because he caught a knee from Ricochet in the match. Like I say, Ricochet got in some of his nice high-flying babyface moves, and Guenther had an impressive win. And to me, this was a match that they could do over and over again and be creative with it and really work well. So I wouldn't be against seeing Ricochet. I mean, honestly, I don't remember the last time somebody won a title and I didn't see a rematch like the next week. So I'm assuming they're going to wrestle again, but it'd be nice to see them do something long term because that's a good matchup right there. And Guenther's got some serious athleticism for somebody that size.
Yeah, and champions always have like a tendency to demand a rematch whenever they lose their title. Like, I used to be a champion. I'm going to use my previous championship to challenge you to a rematch and try to get my title back. So I do think we're going to see this fight again. But I said this in a text to you earlier. I think what would be cooler, though, and I think this might happen, I think that Ricochet will ask for a rematch, but Guenther is going to say, no, you're not good enough. But let me see if you can get through Ludwig Kaiser first. I think that's the reason why Ricochet kneed or kicked. I can't remember what it was, but it was something on the apron. I think it was a knee to Kaiser and gave him that bloody lip or whatever. I think that's why Kaiser was selling it at the end too. I don't know if you saw that, but like when he was
he was really
the title, he was really
selling it in the ring.
Yeah, so I think the next match we see is actually going to be Ludwig Kaiser against Ricochet. And Gunther's going to say, if you can beat Ludwig, then I'll accept a rematch. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. And I would love to see that.
I think Ludwig's going to say that. I think Ludwig's going to say, look.
Yeah, either of them might say it.
Like, listen, you little jerk. You hit me in the face, so you can beat me. Cool, and then you can deal with the ring general again. Listen, man, they could go back and forth with that because it's believable that Ricochet could pull something off to beat Guenther, in my opinion, given what they showed in this match.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
and then, like, if you're talking psychology wise, Ricochet had a nice, like fight back moment. He starts fighting back and he's landing hits. He lands this really nice moonsault on him. Then he lands this shooting star press on him too and tries to get the cover, but he can't get it. He gets 2 count, where early in the match he had 1 counts on him. He gets a 2 count. So because he couldn't beat him with the shooting star press, he gets up on the top rope and he goes for the 630 splash, but he misses it. And that's when Guenther eventually does the drop kick and takes over and power bombs and wins. But I think then when we see Ricochet win, it's going to be after he lands his 630 splash. He missed it this time. He's going to land it next time.
Yeah, he needs to be able to hit like a recoil or something before that to put Guenther down in the corner.
Yeah, one more move I just want to make sure to point out too that I liked. Guenther put Ricochet. He like laid Ricochet up on the top rope in the corner, like on Ricochet's back, and then Guenther got up on the rope and put his foot over the throat of Ricochet and just kind of pressed down and hung Ricochet's body almost like a crucifix over the corner. It was really good looking, and like Ricochet, he's so flexible that move looked like it basically bent him in half. It was awesome. It was a really good move.
Yeah, I like that move. That was actually one of the moves he was doing to Mansoor that I saw. And I was like, wow. Because that's when they spill out to the outside right after that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so like that he was doing that one. I was like, wow, that looks like it really hurts. Like,
yeah. And that's what you get when you have a monster, big guy against a cruiser that can be flexible and really sell the pain of his devastating moves.
Yeah. And that's what I like about it. You got
that power bomb too. Oh man, I would die if I hit that. Oh, got hit by that power bomb. Ugh.
Well, listen, even the missile drop kick, it's like, first of all, somebody Guenther's size hitting it, but Ricochet selling it, flew halfway across the ring and bounced off the turnbuckle.
It was perfect.
I just think that they're a very good match for each other, and they should continue to do whatever they can do to have these two in the ring together, Intercontinental title or not. And if you got to get Kaiser involved in whatever, that's fine. Yeah.
Now let me throw just a quick little scenario question at you. What if Ricochet needs some help at some point where he's getting double teamed by these two? Do you think there's a possible run-in friend that Ricochet could help him? And maybe have like a 2-on-2 and then the individuals clash or whatever. I know Guenther and Ludwig Kaiser is not a tag team per se, but they fought as a tag team last week, right? Against him and Drew Gulak.
That's what I was about to say. He was messing with Drew Gulak, so like,
yeah, I'm seeing
that's why it would be confusing
if Drew Gulak comes in. I don't know, it's possible.
But if it was a different guy, I don't know who the hell it would be, because like
Somebody big.
Yeah, maybe.
Like another giant that's baby face.
Well, if Max Dupree can bring in Mace as his guy, then maybe he could help out Ricochet. I don't know.
I mean, really, you know who would be freaking awesome with Ricochet as a teammate? Now, this is kind of crazy, but
Shanky?
Drew McIntyre.
Yeah, that would be great.
Wouldn't that be great against Guenther? Ooh, that would be such a beef battle between those two.
Yeah, I felt like Ricochet and McIntyre tagged together a couple times, like maybe at the end of the year.
I must have missed that.
but I might be confusing it with Ricochet and Cesaro.
See, Drew McIntyre's teamed up with so many people recently too. So, I mean, I totally get that. He's been included on so many tag team plus Drew
every tag
situations.
Team.
Yeah.
Every babyface tag team he's tagged with, I think. But.
So anyways, it's a good start to a feud. That's how I'm going to say it. I think this is actually a start to a couple more matches and a much longer feud between Ricochet and Guenther.
Yeah, I mean, I said a while ago, even when they were in the middle of the squash matches, I think where they're going with this is they're going to the Intercontinental Championship with Guenther, and they did that. They got him the title, but I don't think it's going to end. I think they should know that they got a good match up here and a good feud and it doesn't have to be every week. They can go every other week with these two guys and have this going on for a while. And for me, as long as they're putting on good matches and doing a couple of new things and we're getting interesting outcomes, they could carry this on for a couple months and it would work because of the caliber of the athletes involved.
Totally.
So, next up we had the main event with Riddle and Zayn. This match, the stipulation was if Riddle wins the match, he gets a title shot against Roman Reigns next week on Smackdown. If we're working on the same schedule as Max Dupree, it'll be in 2 weeks, not next week. But everybody's saying now that given the result of this match, the match will be next week. We had if Zayn won, then Riddle would be banned from SmackDown. I think just given the stipulation, the outcome was pretty much predetermined.
Yeah, sometimes it's real obvious when they start throwing out such steep stipulations.
We know Riddle's not just going to be banned from. I mean, they could do it and then whatever and say it's like you have a brand split anyway. Isn't he supposed to not be on SmackDown anyway?
Yeah, and they reverse so much shit too anyway. They'll have some stipulation if you lose this match, then you lose your job, and the person loses their match and they lose their job. And then the next week they're like, I got my job back because of such and such.
Yeah.
And there was a little additional stipulation too, because before this match, there's a little promo with Paul Heyman in the back with Sami Zayn. And he says, if you win, I'll tell Roman that Sami Zayn belongs in the bloodline. But if you lose though, and then he just leaves it open. And then Sami Zayn's music starts playing and he has to go out. And Sami's just got this look like, oh shit, what did I do? I like that.
I thought it was brilliant to have Heyman out with commentary during this match because they could use his facial expressions and they could use his commentary to put Riddle over. And I think it worked really well. He did put over Riddle.
Great job of putting Riddle over. Great job.
His facials when Sami had when he hit the high knee, but then didn't go for the cover.
And he's yelling, pin him.
Cover him, you idiot. Cover him, you schmuck. What are you doing? And
so funny.
Riddle went for an RKO and Zayn hit a beautiful looking Blue Thunder Bomb, and that went for 2. And that was one of the closest near falls I've ever seen.
Yeah, that was great.
Jeez, and then there was a time when Riddle had Zayn down, and it was 2.9 seconds. And even Cole was saying he thought Charles Robinson, because what I was about to say about Charles Robinson, if he counts 3 and whoever won whoever didn't kick out is supposed to be who wins, he won't care. He'll ring the bell and say that person won.
Right.
So, like, I was afraid that was going to happen a couple of times. There's a couple of times where it didn't look like Riddle was going to get it. He ended up hitting the RKO out of nowhere when Zayn went for the haluva kick after he was dazed in the corner. But really good match between the two of them. You know, Zayn evaded him outside, but then baited him into a clothesline. We saw a floating bro. We saw Zayn mock Randy Orton a little bit and do the draping DDT. Later on, we saw the draping DDT by Riddle, along with his snap body slam, as well as, you know, really nice he had a really nice sequence where he hit a gut wrench suplex followed by a gut wrench powerbomb and then a broton. So, you know, he was in the groove tonight. But
yeah,
Riddle,
he gets on fire really well. Like, he just gets move after move after move. It's great. He's got such a good motor.
Yeah, he'll just burst and he'll just go boom, 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 and the moves just glide together, and he'll hit those Pele kicks or those drop down knees.
Yeah, he's almost got like a yes kick going on in the corner, where he just repeatedly kicks him in the chest.
Yeah, I like that when he during his comeback, he likes to do that. But yeah, Riddle had a nice match here. He ends up winning. The Usos come in for a post-match beatdown, but Riddle fights back with a kendo stick to go off the air, send the fans home happy. Paul Heyman was hilarious with his commentary during the match and his facial expressions. You know, you could just tell how, you know, worried he was at times, or how disappointed in Sami Zayn he was, or how happy he was when Sami Zayn did do something good. And I just felt like these two guys worked well. I had a feeling, I think I even said, like, I really think they're going to use Zayn here in whatever matches they need to use him in for the bloodline. It obviously saves Roman Reigns. He's not even there, but it saves the Uso. You know, it saves you from having to be like, oh, beat Jimmy and you get a title shot. You know, like, we've seen that 1,000 times. So, I mean, we've seen Riddle and Jimmy 1,000 times, and it just doesn't make any sense to face Jimmy. But you have Zayn here in this position. You know, Zayn being the quote unquote locker room leader, and, you know, it being a loser leaves SmackDown or whatever match kind of makes sense. I felt like it all worked. And obviously Riddle won. I didn't think there was any chance he wasn't going to win. I do think it's a little bit strange that originally we were going to have Roman and Riddle at Money in the Bank. They moved Money in the Bank to the smaller venue, which is probably and reportedly the most likely reason why Roman Reigns won't be at Money in the Bank, which then affects Riddle because it takes his match with Roman Reigns and moves it to the SmackDown instead of the pay-per-view. I felt like Riddle deserved the main event pay-per-view spot, especially all the work that he's doing on TV, how over he is. It looks like Orton's going to get the SummerSlam match with Roman Reigns whenever he comes back, and then we'll see Drew McIntyre clash in the castle. But what do you think about the fact that Riddle's not getting a pay-per-view match, and then obviously the match itself tonight?
It feels like it should be at a pay-per-view simply because we haven't seen Roman Reigns in forever. And so it seems like any match he's going to be in is going to be huge. And if it's going to be a title contention match, it's going to be huge. So if it's a match of that scale, it should be on a pay-per-view. I don't know why they wouldn't, but I'm eating my own words, because what did they do with the tag team unification match? They put that on a SmackDown. So, like, why shouldn't we expect this to happen on a SmackDown too? I don't know. Like, sure, I would love for it to be on a pay-per-view instead, and it makes more sense, or PLE. But hey, this is what WWE does, man. I don't know. I can't explain it. That's for sure.
Yeah, you know, I was disappointed that Riddle wasn't going to get his title shot on a pay-per-view because, he's somebody that I think deserves it. And it deserves it. Like the last guy I remember getting a title shot on television was Xavier Woods, right? And Xavier Woods actually fought a great match. He had the match won. He hit the coast-to-coast elbow, and the Usos pulled him out of the ring. Roman Reigns retained after the DQ. That's fine. Great match.
That's probably what's going to happen in the Riddle match, to be honest.
Right. The Usos are going to interfere when Riddle has the match won, and that's fine. What I don't like is what's happened with Woods since then. And I don't want, and did you remember that match until I just started talking about it?
No, not at all.
Right. And I don't want that to be
insignificant.
Right. I don't want this Riddle match to be insignificant. Riddle deserves to have a match that everybody remembers at least for a year, not at least 6 months. It's been 6 months since that match with Xavier Woods. And I had to remind people about it. And I had to remind myself about it,
What time of the year do they do the King of the Ring pay-per-view?
Well, it used to be June. I think this one was Crown Jewel, was the King of the Ring last year. So I guess if they're doing the King of the Ring thing again, it'll be Crown Jewel in October or late September, whenever that one is in Saudi.
Okay. I'm just trying to connect dots, and if we're comparing this match to the same thing as what happened to Xavier Woods, I can totally see them having Riddle lose this match, and he just drops down away from the main event picture and gets thrown into the King of the Ring mix, and then becomes our next King of the Ring, and he uses his goofy Riddle character as a king. Oh man, you just got me thinking so much about comparing the two, and I really hope that doesn't happen to Riddle. I don't want to see him go the same path as Xavier
you made me
Woods.
upset.
But I can now see creative being like, wouldn't Riddle be a really good King of the Ring? Oh my God. I do not want to see it, but I can see them thinking that.
I have kind of felt like Riddle could be a little bit more serious and a little bit better with his promos and things like that. But at the same time, he has
been more serious. Yeah.
Yeah. And I feel like he's done what he needs to do, and his in-ring work's been really good, and there's no reason to mess up what they're doing, and, I don't know. I just feel like they should keep him in a position where he's at the top as long as they can. The fact that they have Orton in the SummerSlam match indicate that they're not going to have Riddle go too far. But then again, they're moving on to McIntyre, so who knows what's going to happen. But I just think Riddle's a guy that, belongs near the top of the card. And, I'd hate to see him lose this match and then fall into the abyss. I don't want to see him as King of the Ring. Let Butch win that, or somebody. No offense to Butch. I'm just saying, let somebody else that isn't getting that much time and much feature win that one, So anyway, with Riddle, I'd hate to see him fall into the abyss after winning the King of the Ring. We do have the Orton and Reigns match, so you figure Riddle won't go too far, but you never really know. But next week on SmackDown, we do have Happy Corbin and Madcap Moss in a last laugh match. I guess that's the last man standing match. And we also are going to probably have more Money in the Bank qualifying matches, as well as the title match with Reigns and Riddle. So that's pretty exciting. You got anything else to add? Do you have anything else to add about SmackDown tonight, Kyle, before we let the listeners go for the SmackDown review?
No, it's just a lot of things to look forward to with that Riddle match against Roman Reigns. Super excited to see what happens there. It's going to be a good match. I excited to see John Cena come back. That's going to happen. They've been showing so many John Cena clips and throwing little hints towards him and things like that. So, I'm feeling the John Cena love right now. So I'm ready to see him come back. I hope he gets to do some good matches. We'll see what happens. But yeah, a lot of good things. Plus, having these contenders matches, between like Drew and Sheamus for the Money in the Bank qualifying matches. That is, I like that. Like you said in the beginning, just to wrap up this from beginning to end. It's nice to have matches that have something to fight for. Something's on the line, and it seemed like every match tonight had something on the line. So that really makes you look forward to, what's going to happen in the future. Yeah. Oh, and one more thing too. I really liked that they did a Smackdown replay of December 13th, 2001, when they had Stone Cold attacking Booker T in the grocery store. Ooh, that was cool. Like, if you're going to do video recaps and stuff, those are the kind of recaps I want to see.
Yeah, I like that segment too. But yeah, I like the Money in the Bank qualifying matches. The fact of the Money in the Bank coming up, those matches being on Raw or SmackDown will definitely help, because they're going to be between two people that, are pretty formidable and are going to, it only makes sense for them to book a match where it looks like the two people are trying to win if it's for something. So then that's going to inherently make the match better. And I think that, that's something that, makes this stuff more interesting. And since we had two of those matches, we had the Riddle match and we had the IC match, as well as the championship contenders match with Rousey, not a bad, set of matches for us tonight. A lot of stories. Hey, we do have a lot that came from Raw as well that we haven't gotten a chance to talk about. And we are going to be dropping an episode with that too. We're going to record them pretty much back to back. So we're going to let you guys go on SmackDown and try to hook you up with a little more content here in a minute. Remember to follow us on all podcast platforms. Leave a 5-star rating or review. Only $1 on Patreon is our lowest tier. Our $5 tier and $10 tier offer merchandise as well. If you join the $1 tier before July 31st, you will have the benefits of all the tiers. Follow us on Twitter at BeyondMattWWE. Send an email whenever you'd like, matt@beyondthemat.com. Kyle, you have anything else to say to the fans before we go?
Nope. Have a great weekend, everybody. Peace.
All right. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. And we will try to push out another one to you guys pretty much right after this one. Really appreciate the support from all you listeners out there who have been sending the messages and things like that. We are going to compile them and put them together in a mailbag episode as well. So looking forward to that. Have a good night.
Thanks for listening to Beyond the Mat. Remember to subscribe so you don't miss a show.